everybody. Oh my God, StreamYard sucks. I'm telling you, we pay $45 a month. It should allow me to do a live when I want. But thank you for tuning in. We're going to get right into the Kohberger case. And why now? So, that's the big question. Okay, can everybody hear me good? At this point, I'm checking everything. I'm like, is my sound working? It's been a technical nightmare for days. Yeah, like all of a sudden my volume's way down. Okay, we're golden, right? Everybody give me a 1 if you can hear me. I want to thank you all for staying with me from StreamYards, which has dumped us out on the side of the road like we're some chicken. I don't know what that means, but like we don't matter. Chickens matter, but you get me. All right. Can everybody see me okay? I'm literally not even sure if I'm live, but I am on OBS. OBS is 100% reliable. There's the ones I need, so there's quite a bit of lag, whatever. YouTube internet is busy. Look at this. Why now? That's a big thing. So my last video that I did on the Idaho 4, let me just go out here for a minute and I'm going to grab this. And let's see, let's switch it up. I guess I would have went this way to do it. It was in May, the beginning of May. Okay, it didn't work. Hold on. There it is. Okay, so will justice be gained? And basically I said they're ramping up the guilty verdict. And I just washed my hands because I was like, I can see it coming a mile away. And I think I even say, I doubt we're going to see a trial. Somehow they're going to ramp this up so high, there's just nothing left. So think about it. We had all the publicity, and then it was like slowly but surely the leaks started coming out on the big networks, and they had Bryan's phone records, and then all of a sudden we've got the DUI person, and they're all like, I parked direct next to Kohberger, Bryan, you know. But now we're hearing that Kohberger has allegedly accepted a plea deal. Well, the prosecution accepted the plea deal. Bryan accepted it too. And this would mean that it would be that Bryan would plead guilty to all 4 counts and the burglary charge, which would then make DM and Bethany actually able to, in my unprofessional opinion, be able to turn around and civilly sue him. This opens up a huge thing, but why now? Why not right away? Why now? What changed? Oh my golly. What are you guys thinking? What is... let me know what your thoughts are. Prime Candy. So, did anyone think he did this? This is sus to me. Hi, Fancy Fortnite Games. Long time no see. You said it leaves people thinking they're insane. Like the Mandela effect or something. Oh my God, you're so right. Let me do this for you. Let's get our video on the board. See what that looks like. Okay. All right, let me show you what I feel. Let's see if it shows up. Wait. Let's get this on top of us and get it in the right place. Remember, you guys, everything is all screwed for me because we've had to reset on the fly. But this is what I made because I was I went on Tommy Jude's channel once upon a crime time. last night with a bunch of beautiful people, and we had hours worth of discussion. I am still at a loss. So all I could think of today was this video that I made a few days ago before I found out. And I'm going to share it with you because this is my sentiments. This is my sentiment of how it feels in the Kohberger thing. Okay? Let me get my headphones on. Heaven reigns, 43 months. Let me get chat pinned. Hold on. And let me grab that. 43 months. You guys are so beautiful. Thank you for being so loyal. I love you to the moon and back. And I appreciate you, my love. Thank you. Sounds like he wanted control. You are so right, Nikki. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Let's watch this. This is how I feel about what just happened.
Give this 5 or 10 minutes. They're staying deep and they're coming up and hitting.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen.
2 hours now that have been pretty deliberate.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. I don't think so. No, 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 no. Maybe someday you'll have it your way. Maybe someday it'll all work out. Until then, nope, definitely nope, nope, probably never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen. Oh no.
So the short guy survives, but that is exactly how I feel. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like we have to somehow come to terms what just happened in this case. Are we ever going to know the truth? I highly doubt it. Truthfully. Interior family, welcome back. Good to see you. 3 months. Thank you, lovely. Great to see you. It's so strange. Slight just sank his boats. Right, Claire? Some of the families are not happy. Some are. It's just some people like to talk louder than others, so they are heard more. But I do have other families' interviews to share today. Interior family, not all the families wanted the death penalty, hon. Some of them did not. K.S. Jenkins Art says the state doesn't want the corruption to come out. If this isn't obvious. I agree. I agree. BT just wants to retire. Could be right. Hey, Rach, lovely. Well, that was terrifying. You weren't expecting that. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I felt like. I'm like, what's happening? What is happening? And then I realized there could be way more to this than we think. And so we talked about some stuff last night that because this is so Twilight, like, okay, let's talk about this. They tore the house down and we were like, OMG. OMG. Before trial, before you have a jury, you tore the house down? Well, joke's on us. They weren't going to need that house anyway. Did they know that? So why were FBI all over that area, according to the locals, prior to this quadruple homicide? That's a tiny town that doesn't really have a huge need for FBI to be like all over the place. But that is what was being said by the locals, that there was heavy FBI all over the area. Okay. We have unmarked policemen, unmarked vehicles in all black uniforms that match the description, and I'm not accusing them of committing the crime. I'm starting to wonder. So this is going to get really, really crazy. But I'm going to throw this out there because we're in the twilight zone, so I can. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. There. I told you. It's going to get crazy. Unspoken heart stillness. Thank you, lovely. There is more than this. There is more to this than we think. Did FBI squash? Okay, hear me out. That's an excellent question. So, we haven't been able to make sense of this case. It's been under complete secrecy and seal. Yet, key pieces of information have been magically leaked to the public at exactly pivotal points in the case. I feel like we're being clickbaited. I feel like we're being clickbaited. So, Kohberger, the family's always said he's never in orange, he's not cuffed, he's just in a suit and looks, you know, whatever. Looks like one of the lawyers. He always looks well groomed, clean, shaven, not like a normal inmate should be treated. We've got that little walk with Maddie and Kaylee. Kaylee says, Maddie, what did you tell Adam? Oh, I told Adam everything. She's flipping her little coat thing. We've got the marshals, right? The cowboys that come into the house unannounced or in there for a short time and come out and don't even look at the news. In fact, on the media, they put their little hats down, right? Like, don't look at me. One of them had something in their hand. We have Ian Harsh, who made the claims that there was a very expensive, like, hybrid black Jeep thing out there, or Explorer, with shiny black windows, which we all went, huh, that sounds like a Fed or a marshal, right? On the night that the girls are getting dropped off. So, take a big drink because we're going to get into this part. Hold on just a minute. Somebody's pounding upstairs. I said, stop pounding, please. I'm live. I just didn't want to hurt your eardrums because he's way upstairs. He can't hear it. I'm right below him, so I hear everything. Okay. Did I miss something? Hold on just a minute. I actually have to go let him know. I told you this is a weird week. Hold on. I'm back, sorry. Okay. I don't know what the heck he's doing. He's like, I hear you. I yelled at him. I'm like, quit pounding. I'm live, darling. Okay. So all of this is weird to me, like the undercover cops that appeared outside, that were like guarding the area. The whole thing with Kohberger and that saga of how he was taken out so weird. All of this is shrouded in mystery. And then I got to thinking about, you know, how okay, there's a whole crowd of you, there's a whole group of you that have been talking about CIs, classified informants. And we were talking last night, could Kohberger actually be undercover? And I would have laughed about this. I would have. But hear me out. They did have that ginormous rug bust, right? With Bailey, Jesse Bailey, or whatever his name was. And all of them right after this. So they would get their... See, it's the U.S. Marshals that... Tommy Boy over on Once Upon a Crime Time. Love him. Read what the U.S. Marshals do. And they are the ones that witness protection type thing. We never saw blood in that house. We never saw anybody get a picture of bodies coming out. There was just, they tore the house down before. It was like a psyop from hell. So in order for this to be pulled off, I got to thinking, holy crapola. So Bryan's going to be in the Idaho prison system. He's got to be made to look so guilty that if he's put in, he could be an informant within the system. Because he's just not dumb enough for all this shite. He ain't gonna bring his phone and drive his own car without a state plate, no front plate, drive right up to the front door, wave at the DoorDash driver and go, hey, I'm here to take care of business. You want me to take that in for you? Oh, no? Okay, well, I'm Bryan Kohberger. Nice to meet you. All right, see you later. Peace out. This is just stupid the way this is sounding. So if Bryan Kohberger parked way up there in the back of the place by the little crowded area where only 5 cars fit because it's all shady by the trees, and then you go listen to Bryan Inton, you wouldn't be able to get to the house that way unless you go through a little bit of woods and so forth and try to work your way through there. Fine if you're the one, well, not fine, but you know what I mean. It's to the advantage of anybody trying to be sneaky and get through there so that they can commit a crime. But the DoorDash driver is parking next to him. So the DoorDash driver's going to park up there in the little shady little shack area and walk herself down that little wooded path behind the house with unsure footing? No. Hell to the no. You know it didn't happen. So how is she parking right next to Bryan? All that shit comes out right before all of a sudden, we got a plea deal. Bryan says he did it all. Yeah, we took the DP off. No. He's got to look so monstrous that he cannot be questioned. And that way, he comes out, or he goes in, I should say, into the system to be a CI on the inside. It's the only way this makes sense, and I know it sounds ludicrous. Esty was on last night over there too, and I can't remember if it was him or who it was, but I think it was him that brought up this whole idea that at one point Christy Gonzalez, Kaylee's mama, was on a live and she said, and Kaylee got a house, almost like she was going to say house, got a new house, and then that was that. That's what he said. Now, I don't know if it's true. I didn't see it, but I trust the guy. Bryan never looked right as a normal criminal. Like, he wasn't in orange, he didn't have the shackles like on his hands and everything when he came in the courtroom. He always looked very pressed, very clean, well groomed. If this is true, then the victims literally would not get to see their families again because they're deep state farm, we love you. You feel me? They're deep state farm, we love you. So what I want to share with you are some interviews of how the families felt, what's coming next, and so forth. Now, this is why now think about what I said. If Bryan is deep state and he's going in to be a CI on the inside, then the 4 victims, think about this. Maddie and Kaylee were the older 2. Kaylee is absolutely obsessed with solving things and talking about human sex trafficking and all that. Could she have been decided to go in deep state to break some of those cases, and Maddie's along with her because they were always going to be together? I always wondered if they were always so 2 peas in a pod, why Kaylee was going down to Austin, Texas, but Maddie wasn't. That didn't make sense. So, okay, I can even do that. And then Ethan and Xana, hell, they're almost brand new to college. They've got one year under their belt. So they're coming in at a very young age at that point, right? So they could have been like a completely different set of people that are all going into this thing. This thing. Because when you listen to this family talk, and I'm not judging them, I'm saying it could fit the scenario. The last words that Ethan Chapin said to Maisie, his triplet sister, was "I love you." And she didn't even answer it back, nor does she really seem to get emotional about that part. The interviewer has to prompt her. Okay, so let me show you this.
We just decided maybe it was best to tell our story of Ethan literally one time. He deserves it. He deserves our story of him.
This morning, as the Idaho murder suspect prepares to accept a plea deal, the family of Ethan Chapin speaking publicly together for the first time since Ethan, his girlfriend Xana Kernodle, and her roommates Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez were brutally murdered in an off-campus home at the University of Idaho.
I miss him every day. When you lose your son at 20, it's different. It's a different loss.
Well, stop.
And I do. I miss him every single day.
Stop, dude. Just a minute. Go back. Why do I have this? Okay, so we're on this one.
We just decided.
Okay. Hear how they talk and think about what we're talking about. It's a different loss. It's a different loss. See, and I get that it would be heartbreaking. I get that you would miss him every day.
Tell our story.
Okay, let's listen to it. I got it screwed up
Of
for some
Ethan
reason.
literally one time. He deserves it. He deserves our story of him.
He deserves our story of him. He deserves that. One time. That's strange to me. I'm sorry, it is.
This morning, as the Idaho murder suspect prepares to accept a plea deal, the family of Ethan Chapin speaking publicly together for the first time since Ethan, his girlfriend Xana Kernodle, and her roommates Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez were brutally murdered in an off-campus home at the University of Idaho.
I miss him every day.
Now listen.
When you lose your son at 20, it's different. It's a different loss.
It's a different loss.
And I do. I miss him every single day. And I always will.
Ethan, a triplet with his siblings Hunter and Maisie, all attending the University of Idaho together. Hunter and Maisie and their parents, Jim and Stacy, now telling their story in a new Prime Video docuseries, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders, remembering their 6'4", larger-than-life brother and son.
We played every sport together. Every time we went in the car, it was together. Partied together. There was never a dull moment.
The night before Ethan was killed, Maisie brought him to her sorority formal. She now cherishes the text
Listen
he
to
sent her
Maisie.
before bed.
So he started off by texting me. I think he said, "Dog, come hang out. We all want you here." And I said, "I'm going to bed." And then he said, "Love you." And I didn't even respond to that. I think I was asleep by then.
And the I love you kind of stood out, though.
Well, yeah, yeah, definitely.
That's just weird. Alpha Omega says this whole thing has been very damaging to her credibility. Next time I'm going to be way more cautious. I don't know what that means, sweetheart. Joyful and Alfred plea is named from a case where a defendant pleads and doesn't acknowledge the guilt of the crime. Yeah, there's a straight plea and there's an Alfred plea. So that's what we're going to be finding out. If it's a straight plea, then the details are acknowledged to the court. Whether we'll know them or not, I don't know. If it's an Alfred plea, the judge can still demand some answers. Some, right? No trial. Right, Rach. Plea means no trial, so we won't hear from him, Jen, unfortunately. Right. Poof, he no longer exists. That's how a lot of people feel. Right, Jennifer? Right, Jen? Alpha Omega, and there was not a single thing about the DoorDash driver in all the leaks and discovery, not one gossip, rumor, etc. Actually, there was. Now, I didn't tape it, but I've said it, and you can go back to old videos well before this day. Steve Gonzalez was on Live, and he said that they had an eyewitness that would put Bryan on the 1122 property. And I said, if that's true, if he's being honest, that's gotta be the DoorDash. It's got to be the DoorDash driver. Prime Candy says, I think it's admitting that you acknowledge the state has enough evidence to secure a sentence and guilty verdict. Right. You're very right. Prime Candy says, I think gonna plead that on the Young Thung RICO trial. Right. Are you Mr. Ifs, or are you someone else? Because your name has changed and your icon has changed, so you could be somebody else, and I'm mistaking you for one of our family members that we knew a while back. So the judge could deny it, but the family would have been notified by now. Well, we're going to look at what the experts say, like a former judge and so forth. Let's go ahead and finish up the families.
Hunter, who pledged Sigma Chi with Ethan, says the next morning a friend at the fraternity woke him up saying the police were at Xana's house.
Hunter Johnson came up to me and said, I was like, where's Ethan and Xana? And he's like, they're not here anymore. It's like, what do you mean they're not here anymore? He's like, I think they were murdered last night.
Hunter was forced to call his family with the news. His parents in disbelief.
It drives me crazy because I've always wanted to protect my family. And there's really nothing there that I could instantly. He was taken.
A suspect, Bryan Kohberger, arrested nearly 7 weeks later. With a bit of relief, the Chapins shifting their focus to their son's legacy, getting tattoos to honor him.
We all benefited from having Ethan in our lives for 20 years. It's a tremendous loss.
Now, the Chapins told me that they brought Ethan's ashes and his red Jeep home to one of their favorite places in Priest Lake, Idaho, where they live like Ethan every day to honor his legacy. For more on their story, you can catch...
All right, so then this is Ben Mogan's statement. So Ben Mogan is Maddie Mogan's daddy. And not everybody sees this as a letdown. He makes a lot of valid points about getting closure right away and not having to relive and suffer for years to come after many appeals.
Comes just 2 months before the trial was originally scheduled to start. In exchange for pleading guilty, Kohberger will receive 4 consecutive life sentences. Prosecutors had been seeking the death penalty if he were found guilty. This plea also has Kohberger waiving his right to appeal. Benjamin Mogan, Madison's father, sat down with CBS News to talk about this new development in his daughter's murder case and what it means not just for the victims' families moving forward, but Bryan Kohberger as well.
Yeah, it's going to be nothing nice to go through for the rest of your life, and he'll have to think about that every day, all the terrible things that he allegedly did. And
Okay, wait. See what I'm saying? All the terrible things that he allegedly did.
Yeah, you know,
Wow.
there's pros and cons to everything, but if you get a quick death sentence, then you don't have to spend decades thinking about how terrible you made the world. Yeah, I think it's justice when you don't have to torture families that have been the horrific thing they could ever imagine, you know.
Okay.
After the decision to take the plea deal was made, another family of one of the 4 victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, sent a strong statement about the plea deal, saying in part, the Latah County Prosecutor's Office's treatment of our family during this process is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. We weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with a letter.
There is no excuse for that. I just feel like they knew it was coming at least a day before, but maybe not. I don't know.
Letter attached. That's how Latah County's prosecutor's office treats murder victims' families. Our family is frustrated right now, and that will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we face moving forward. We have that full statement from the Gonsalves family up on our website, krem.com.
Okay. So this guy,
like most people, surprise, particularly when the judge
is a former judge, and he is going to actually answer a lot of your questions because he did mine.
recently denied the continuance of the trial. I think all folks looking at this this trial and this awful case were expecting some answers and some resolution, perhaps justice, and now those things are placed in a whole different light.
This hearing that is going to be happening on Wednesday, can you shed some light as to what we expect to happen?
Sure. First of all, I'd emphasize that it hasn't happened yet, and I'm sure the trial judge is very concerned about this publicity. Should the plea not go through, not be accepted, that's going to be further taint on a jury pool. So I'm sure the judge is thinking that, first of all.
So, what he's saying is it's going to come tomorrow on Wednesday before the judge. So the prosecution is the deciding factor. But if they do come to the judge and they can show the judge that indeed they have substantial evidence that would logically lead to a guilty verdict, then the judge usually will accept this. Now, he can ask for things like more of a determined outline of what some of the answers are, what took place, make a statement, Bryan, kind of thing, even if it's written. He could say, well, every penny you get, other than the food that's given to you is going to go to the victims' families, which I think that is something that's going to happen. But this guy knows a little bit more, being a former judge himself.
When the hearing happens, if the hearing happens, there are two things going on: the law and the emotions.
Yeah.
So the judge's concern will be, of course, the law, and by that, the judge has to make a conclusion that it's constitutional, that the plea is acceptable. So he will be doing a direct inquiry called a colloquy with the defendant to make sure that his understanding of the consequences of the plea are knowing, intelligent, and voluntary. Those are sort of the famous things to look for. And free of coercion. Excuse me.
And as you noted, there's still a lot of time from now until Wednesday. Is there any reason a judge might reject this plea?
If the judge does not conclude those things, that it is not voluntary, that it's a product of some sort of coercion, then yeah, the judge can reject it. The judge has an affirmative duty to make that determination.
As you mentioned, quite a surprising turn of events. A lot of people watching this may be wondering what goes into this type of plea deal. Do they take the victims' families into consideration?
The ultimate decision is the prosecuting attorneys. So the victim's family are not technically clients. So the decision is the prosecutors and the prosecutors alone. However, of course, a prosecutor needs to, under any standard, not just of law, but morality, consider the input of the victims who are aggrieved, understandably.
And one of the biggest things in this case, Judge, has been the motive. People trying to figure out why anyone would do this, right? And if this plea deal goes through and Kohberger accepts the plea deal, as we have heard he has, closing the door on finding out the answers potentially on the motive in this case?
It's a great question, and the answer is a lawyer one. It depends. So one thing I'll be looking for is this what's called a straight plea versus an Alford plea?
So I need you to listen, because you're going to be asking this. We're going to find out tomorrow. Is this a straight plea or an Alford plea? So listen to what he shares with. And David Baracha messaged him about sleuths ruining people's lives. Whatever. Okay.
In a straight plea, the defendant needs to acknowledge all elements of the charges. A Alford plea, it's named after a famous case, doesn't do that. It says, I will likely be found guilty, but I'm not acknowledging that guilt. Furthermore, the prosecutor could require a statement from the defendant to provide some answers. So those things, I imagine, were part of the negotiations, and we don't yet have those answers.
Okay, so the answer is maybe. And Judge, any final thoughts, anything that you'll be watching in these next few hours?
My thoughts are for the family and all involved and what they're going through right now. They were anticipating some acknowledgement, I think, of the truth. They were hoping for justice, and now they have to recast what that perhaps would mean. Plea will give closure. Even if the death penalty were rendered in the case, that invites years sometimes of unknowns and appeals. So this type of thing does provide closure, which is good, but it also can rob families of answers. Answers that,
Actually, innocent people have in history pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. Go watch Jules of True Crime. She goes over, I think it's some cases where it's actually factual innocent people that avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty. So it does happen. But that being said, so Loach, Dirty South is all freaked out. Oh well. Oh well. I don't know what you're talking about. Many people plead guilty even to get the charge over when states hold children over their head. That can happen too, or family, right? Oh, I was gone for my appointment. That figures. Yeah, I never heard about it. You don't think so, Velcro Pajamas? I love your name. I didn't think so either. I agree with you. I hope this is a street plea. I would like some answers. Not Loach. Now I'm confused. The other one? I don't even know his name. Prime Candy says that BK genuinely didn't do this. That means there's a KILLER out there still. Thank you, Robin. A lot of people will plead guilty to avoid the DP even if innocent. I don't know what to think right now. I don't know either. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. So, I don't know. Like I said, I felt all along that it was worthy of us to invest our time into researching the case to see if Bryan did do this. It didn't look like he did. I still don't think that there is as much evidence as the prosecution said, or even is claiming. I mean, the DoorDash driver, if you look into him, like a lot of the sleuths have, is she even credible at all? Because she's kind of got leverage over her to maintain her license because she's got DUIs. And in that, there is leverage over her. And then she's out there, and I'm friends with Bill Thompson. So, why now, though? It's like they had, to me, it's almost like there's some, the feds were just making up bull crap to say this is how we found Bryan. See? I mean, this is our proof right here. Right here. Yeah, we printed this on a computer. But yeah, we have his handprint. His DNA. So that's how we did it. And everybody was like, yeah, but that's not scientific. So how did you know about Bryan? How did you first find out about Bryan? And they could never, the FBI, they could never get that into, they would never put it into a term that anybody, even the state, could reshare. Bryan coming not in orange, but treated like a civilian during his entire court sessions, all of his court sessions. The undercover cops with the unmarked vehicles, all dressed clad in black, just a block away from the house when this event took place. The whole, Maddie, what did you tell Adam? Was that the key word that says this is about to go down? We're about to go get into a U.S. Marshal vehicle and be scooted away to witless protection? And is Bryan going on the inside to be put into the Idaho prison system with the most notorious crimes on his back so that he would never be doubted as an inmate? And he could be the informant that's getting all the information from inside the jail. Well, if this would have went fully blown to trial and the DP was still on the table and he would have been found guilty, it wouldn't have worked. So they couldn't risk it. If they want to have him as a CI, he's got to look guilty but not be put to death, right? So that's what I'm wondering. Public defenders. I know. I thought that it was like Ann Taylor just dropped the ball for me. Like that it was May. and I said they're ramping up the guilty verdict. They're ramping up for a guaranteed guilty verdict. And I didn't think we were going to go to trial at the same time. So I'm like, how are we going to get a guilty verdict? But yeah, plea on the table, and here we are. So this is true too, Star Winters. Brian Hinton said, don't forget, he's the one who reported Brian, said, did you arrest anyone else? Was anyone else arrested? Something like that. Yeah. Oh, I thought I was pinning chat. Sorry. Velcro says, I figured defense was going to rip apart that timeline from the murders to the 911 call. It all just fell apart, guys. We're about to close the book tomorrow. Well, and, you know, if you are going deep state and going to go in CI, even the way this went down from the beginning of this case till the end, it will leave a stain on history. So if BK was wanting fame, he got it. Carolyn Miller, what would be dropped? It may be dropped. You mean the trial canceled? I have no idea about Farley. I never got that part of the Linda Lane footage much. I don't even understand the Farley thing, but a few people are still really into that. Okay, so hello, you said state really don't care. It is a street deal or Alford plea. It's a deal, but for Brian, it would matter. Excellent point. Excellent point. But I do think a straight plea would be greatly appreciated by the family at this point, being that they would like some answers. Archer and the Empress, that's never been debunked. Brian Hinton's still claiming that he was told that. Jeannie the Crime Tourist, hello lovely. You said, I'm highly confused about this situation. Altogether. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Hey Sherry, how are you? I guess if he can take out 4 people, including a big dude like E, I guess he'll be okay in prison long term. Carolyn says the win for Taylor's DP could be dropped. Gotcha, hon. Gotcha. Thank you, Carolyn. Rachel doesn't believe he did it. Joyful says he's not guilty. Prime Candy, same as Rage. I don't know. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I always say that, though. I'm always like, we'll see, we'll see. I feel he's innocent, but at the same time, there's moments I'm like, unless this is a PSYOPs, like a CIOP, right? A CIOP. Not a PSYOP, but a CIOP. Then there's some real strange crap going on that would make me question if he did do it, who did it with him. That's the other thing. Could the other shoe fall? Like, could we find out that, this is a good question actually, could we find out on Wednesday or even a few weeks later that even though Brian pled guilty and took the plea and that the DP is off the table, that it came at a higher price than we know, and that would be to give up the details of who helped commit the crime, and then another person could be charged with the crime as well. That's a good question. It'll be interesting. Velcro says it should matter to the prosecution. They left the family out already. It's not taking accountability if he offered. Truth. Good point. Star Winter says, do you think he will speak? Nope. I don't. I think Anne will speak on his behalf. Sherry says, he didn't do this crap all alone. Never. Hey, Alpha and Omega. This is so humiliating for you in real life. It makes me look crazy. Aw, I'm sorry, sweetheart. Joyful says this case is going to be closed soon. Yep, the judge. The case is going to be closed soon. Yep, the judge. Honey, I can't even read that. Doesn't even make no sense. P. Diddy jury has a partial verdict. All right. What is it? What's the partial verdict, Jennifer? Jen, what is it? Christy Locker says, I'm in such a bad mood. BK is innocent. I really don't understand what the hell is going on. I've always said this, okay? And then I'm going to jump off here for today. But we'll be back tomorrow, right? To find out more about this. Here's the thing. I've always said that, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on a minute. It's a true live. I don't even know. This case leaves me speechless right now. I've always said, you know, oh, I know. If they can say, here's video footage or somebody that saw Bryan Kohberger on the property of 1122 King Road in trial, that's what it's going to take to convince me that he might have something to do with this crime, even if he's just a cleanup crew, because they did some cleaning, right? He's into forensics. Maybe he took it as a challenge to clean the crime scene. I don't know. But if they could provide that for me, then they'd have my attention. That's what I've said all along. Show me someone that saw Bryan, or show me a camera that saw Bryan on the property. And poof, we have the DUI. I parked right next to him up in the shady mountains, right? I say mountains because it's a hill up there in a little shady nook that you got to go through the woods to go all the way half around a block to go to the front. And there's no way in hell any DoorDash driver is going to park up there where they are alleging Bryan parked. So they're trying to say, because DoorDash driver always would park closest to the door, right? They're DoorDash, not, you know, door hike. That's why they're called DoorDash, because they're quick. So we would have to believe now, which they don't care if we believe it or not, but in the scenario, that Bryan parked in the front of the house where DD, DoorDash driver, the DDD, would park right next to him. That's crazy. Literally. I don't think so. I don't think so. The forerunners, the kids were already dead, in your opinion, right? All right, my lovelies, with that, I am going to jump off here. I love you so very much. And, yeah, we'll be back again soon. Good Lord, tomorrow's going to be interesting. This is wild. Well, you'll have to let me know what you think tomorrow.